presentazioni. While Paolo Natacchioni, who had already arrived but was sitting outside, is preparing for his presentation, I would like to welcome him to this CREI seminar, which concludes the set of 2 presentations we will have this afternoon. And Paolo will be presenting a paper on unconditional and conditional wage polarization in Europe. It's from the University of Cassino. Okay, so the floor is yours. You will have around 20 to 30 minutes, and then there will be time for discussion.
How much?
20 to 25 minutes. Okay, you can use, you can use the arrows up and down. I don't know if this works. Questo funziona?
No, già funziona.
Okay. You have to sit down probably and just press.
Prepare a 40 minutes presentation and it's longer. This one. I don't like to be sit, so I have to stand up. Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this paper. It's a joint paper with Riccardo Massari from the Università della Sapienza and Giuseppe Ragusa, that now is in Sapienza, before it was in University of California. I'm happy to present this paper also because it's like 2-3 years that we are working on that, and now it's almost ready to be submitted somewhere. And so the paper, the title is quite narrow, but actually the topic is very wide, in the sense that it concerns the effects or affecting labor market outcomes, in particular wages, so technology, but also institutions and trade. So it's a very general framework. And of course there are many papers in the literature focusing on technology and economic performance, starting from the classic economies to growth, economic growth, endogenous economic growth, and so on. And from the empirical point of view, we have mainly 2 approaches. And one is a macroeconomic approach using cross-country industry data, and another one, of course, a microeconomic one with individual data. I will have the 2 parts on my paper. And the effect on wages, so technology on wages, on average wages, is quite established evidence. There is a positive correlation usually between technological proxies and average wages, both using cross-sectional data, cross-country data, and the individual data. The step forward in the literature and in my paper is to look at the impact of the technology not on average wages but on wage distribution and inequality. And so it is in the quite big literature on the skill bias technical change phenomenon. Why the skill bias technical change becomes so famous? Because in the US there has been a massive increase in inequality in the 80s, in the 90s, and so it was an explanation to address this issue. The main intuition is simple. Technological change is more complementary to skilled labor, and because of this it increased the demand for skilled more than the demand for unskilled, in such a way raising inequalities. Okay? So this is considered one of the most important, even if we will see there are other explanations of the raising inequality in the US. Then in the 2000s we have polarization of wages and of jobs. And now I'm going to explain what we mean by that. So this graph is quite well known by author and Asimoglu. So you have here the percentile of the wage distribution, and there you have the for each percentile of the distribution, we have the increase over time of wages. So you have 2 periods, 74-88 and 88-2004. And you can see that in the 80s, the impact of the increase in wages are quite monotonic along the wage distribution, meaning that the wages of skilled increase the most, then the wages of medium skilled, and then the wages of unskilled increased much less. So the idea of skill bias was, okay, there is moving along the wage distribution, there is an increase in complementarity for skilled labor, and so you have a higher premium for skilled, and then a little bit less for medium, and very low for unskilled. Okay? When we have polarization in recent years, in the 90s and 2000, it means that in the after tail you have more or less the same phenomenon, meaning that the index, the 90-50 index, the standard index of inequality, increase in both periods because the wages of skill increase the most, and then in the lower tail you have a different pattern in recent years, since the wages of unskilled they increase more than wages of medium skilled. Those who are in the middle are those which wages increase the less. Okay? So polarization, because in the 80s we had that the 50-10 increase anyway, while in recent years the 50-10 decreased. The unskilled get closer to the medium skilled. Okay, those who are in the middle are those who are in the worst position with polarization. Okay? Okay. So, we have something similar for employment, for job polarization. So here, instead of having increase in wages, we have increase in employment share. Okay? We have the same picture. In the 80s, a monotone dynamics. The market demanded more the skilled, then the medium, and then the unskilled. While in the 90s, we have a U-shape. So those who are in the middle are demanded less by the market, while those who are in the bottom, the unskilled labor, is demanded more. And which is so the skill bias technical change was consistent with this monotonic path, while now there is this new trend. How it has been explained? It has been explained by routinization, so that the same scholars, Otto or Manning, that were those who really pushed the skill bias technical change intuition, changed their framework in order to accomplish these new trends. So you have routinization. What does it mean? Why those who are in the middle are those who are in the worst position? Because they can be replaced by technology. They show in some papers that those who are in the middle of the wage distribution are those who have more routine jobs, in a sense, no? Like secretary, like clerks, and so on. And so they can be easily replaced by technology. Those who have abstract jobs, cognitive jobs, they in any case cannot be replaced by technology because their job is cognitive. While the impact on unskilled labor is ambiguous, in the sense that there are some unskilled labor that cannot be replaced by technology. And we will see later on which might be. So this kind of explanation has been tested for the US for wages by Filippo Fortile-May 2012. They show that actually offshore has a U-shaped impact on wages. They also show that the unions matters, we will see later on. And job polarization, there are many papers, author Levin-Murnane, Gus and Manning, showing that the job polarization is due to mainly to technology, and mainly the change in the service sector. They argue that the boom of unskilled labor comes from the service sector. So the jobs we are talking about are mainly unskilled jobs. I got these slides from the author presentation, and you can see that unskilled labor that is increasingly demanded by the labor market is more like healthcare, childcare, protective services, food preparation, and so on, that cannot be replaced by technology. Okay? cannot be easily replaced by technology.
Well, where are financial services in this?
Excuse me?
Where are financial services in this?
Not in this slide, but of course,
That's not part of the measure
of
here?
this kind of, in the lower tail, no. In the upper tail, yes. We are talking about this, the jobs that can be related to the lower tail of the distribution. So financial, we will see later on that in the service sector, especially in the financial sector, there has been a huge increase in ICT and jobs and so on.
What you say also holds for services to industry?
Yes, but the increase is less. Just to give you intuition, which kind of unskilled labor. So this is usually unskilled labor.
Okay.
Then you have the...
Okay.
Maybe you can go faster to the...
Yeah.
Okay. A bit of the review because otherwise...
Yeah. So, other explanations that have been evoked to this phenomena are in other institutions, of course, minimum wages, unions, and so on. I go quick. Another one is consumption spillover. I don't spend time on it. Another one that we will address is trade. There is a quite big literature combining trade trends and skill bias. The one that the literature now is stressing the most is on offshoring. Why? Because the offshoring shares some similar attributes with respect to routine stuff. Something that can be easily routinized, can be really easily offshoreable, no? Because it's easy to do, so it can be replaced by a machine, but it can be also offshored, either in the country or outside the country. Okay? Of course, they are not the same, but there is some literature, some papers showing that they are correlated. And so we will address also this issue. What's about Europe? So, I move to our paper that we consider Europe. We should expect a massive impact of technology because of the stated policy for Europe. Actually, you can see it's not the case, like the Lisbon strategy, the knowledge-based economy and so on. The only thing that is available now for jobs, that is quite established fact, is the job polarization trends. There are some papers of Mendy and Salomon and Goose that shows that in Europe there are trends of job polarization. The market demand less those who are in the middle, while demand most who are in the tails. While for wages, there are mixed evidence. For some countries there are evidence in favor of increasing inequality and polarization. For others, for other countries like Spain, France and Italy, there are trends that are hardly compatible, like decreasing wage inequality and falling return to education, so something that seems to be not really compatible with skill bias change, especially the falling return to education. We would expect rising return.
But does this apply to manufacturing only?
This is not. This my paper is on the whole economy. My paper is on the whole economy, all dependent workers.
But then you mix the technology effect and the sectoral composition effect.
So you mean services? No.
Services are another animal. I mean.
Yeah, yeah. In this presentation, I don't address this issue, but you are right. We will see a little bit. Yeah, of course. So the only paper that addresses the issue of wage polarization is the one of Varinen, that considers Europe as a whole, and it addresses the impact of ICT, a proxy for technology, of course, to wages of 3 skill levels: skilled, medium skilled, and unskilled. They find that ICT affect positively high skilled wages and negatively medium skilled wages. So they state, okay, there is some evidence of wage polarization since the technological impact is positive for high skill and negative for medium skill, and not significant for low skill. And so they just consider the conditional impact of technology on wages. They do not care about what's going on to wages in the labor market, and not related to technology. So, the goal of the paper, and I try to go faster.
Let's understand how you can check for wage polarization using youth lamps data.
in the first part using the 3 educational levels available there. I will show you, and I have some also Mario that already we talked already about it. I have a news in this paper, so and so the paper is quite ambitious in the sense quite big. We have a macroeconomic part, country industry data. We investigate unconditional wage polarization. We mean unconditional are wages that we observe in the labor market, and conditional, meaning the impact of technology, ICT, on wages of high, medium, and low skill. And then a macroeconomic part in which we use individual data to address the issue of unconditional wage polarization, what we observe in the labor market, and conditional, so the impact of some task, technological task that can be identified at the individual level on the wage distribution. Why we have the two? I think it's important because the first part consider like more established literature, maybe in the 80s, in the 90s, the intersectoral differences, no? Difference between sectors. So the difference in ICT, for instance, between sectors, and it's an important dimension. But using that kind of data, you cannot consider, you cannot investigate what's going on within a sector. So even if the between technological impact is the same, the within can be different. Inside the sector there might be more routine jobs, less, more abstract, and so on. So it's important also to have the individual level data analysis. And okay, very quickly on the data, we use not just claims, but we use also the WIOD data set. It's a new data set about similar data with respect to claims. So we take from WIOD the wages and the hours worked for 3 educational levels. I will show you that much more accurate than claims. While we have to take from claims the ICT. That there are some problems because it is estimated now. I don't have time to talk about it. So we consider Europe as a whole, 12 countries, apart from Portugal, Luxembourg, and Greece. And for each country we have 29 industries. So why WIOD is much better than claims? It's very easy. In your claims you have some unbelievable data. I don't know how can they publish this kind of data. No, for ICT. Yeah, but here for educational level. For educational level you have, like in Italy, high skill is tertiary, upper secondary, and low skilled, lower than upper secondary. Like in Italy we should have 90% of upper secondary. It's really unbelievable. Okay? While the real data, it's from Eurostat, the official data, it's 36%. In WIOD we have actually the same figure, not very close. And you have the same for Netherlands, 83 instead of 40. For Denmark you have 5.9 tertiary education, while the true one is 26. So it's really random more numbers. But many papers have been published with this data, and okay, and of course some of you are so we use WIOD that's much more accurate for education level, and we are going to see the trends between 1995 and 2007, and between high educated and medium educated, and medium educated and low educated. What do we expect in order to have wage polarization? We have that over time the ratio between high and medium educated increase over time, no? Because the skilled improve with respect to the medium skilled. Why we expect this ratio, the medium with respect to the low, to shrink, to decrease, because the low skilled get closer. We have this ratio in that part of the graph, and you can see that the scale is very, very small, so there are no differences over time. It's really constant. The ratio between top skill and medium skill is even slightly declining, and the one of medium to low skill is constant. Okay, a little bit decreasing at the end, but we don't have differences that we observe in other in other countries. Of course, we aggregate by sector and by country. If you consider the different countries, you have, here we have the levels of high skill, medium skill, and low skill, the level of wages, hourly wages. You can see that polarization occurs just in few countries like Ireland. Here you have that the low skill get closer to the medium, while the medium get far away from the top. But for all the others, there is no evidence of polarization. So the first conclusion in the macro part is there is no evidence of wage polarization. Okay? Can we reject the routinization explanation for Europe? Actually, we can't, because it might be that unconditional wages are confounded by other factors, institution, labor market institution, public market institutions, and so on. And so we cannot observe the impact of technology on wages. And so we move to the conditional wage polarization, and we have the variable of interest is ICT, estimated as it was said before in claims using atomic price. So it's they are estimated. There are some criticism about this variable. You can see here you have the sector. I didn't put the name because it was too long. There is a mistake. The services are this blue, and the manufacturing is this one. So this one is financial sector, as someone was saying. The one in which ICT over value added increased the most is the financial sector, and then communication. Okay, and then you have other service sector, and then most of the manufacturing sectors where there is not much changes. So here is the variable of interest, ICT out of value added, and then we correlate just in a descriptive way these the wage bill share, so wages times hours. So here in the horizontal axis we have changes in ICT over time in 12 years, and here we have the change in the ratio between high skill, low skill, and high skill, medium skill, and medium skill, low skill. So in a descriptive ways we have that actually there is a positive correlation in the this was expected. Where there is a higher rate of ICT, there is a higher ratio between high skill and low and medium skill. Okay, so it's a positive relation. Here we have a negative relation. Where there is more ICT, the low skill get closer to the medium skill. Okay.
The line is explained just by Japan, right? There is just one outlier.
Yeah, there are some outliers. Also, no, not Japan. It's in the financial sector. Okay.
But it's the one that gives the
Yeah, I know. It is explained in the paper that this is quite an outlier. For this reason, we are going to take into account the econometric part, of course. So especially if you can see here, it's quite important here. It's clear that also the 64 is important. So we move to the econometric part. I don't want to bother you too much. So I go quickly. We regress the ratio of the wage bill share between high skilled and medium skilled to ICT and other control variables. And also for medium skilled and low skilled, the ratio on ICT and other control variables. We estimate indifference, so we can control for country fixed effect and sector fixed effect. So we are controlling a lot in terms of unobservable. And then we can split, due to simple algebra, the impact on wage bill share, that are wages times hours. Okay, so it can be whatever. You can have a polarization of wage bill share, but just due to wages or to hours. So we can split, as Varinen does, perfectly the coefficient for wage bill share into the coefficient of wages and coefficient of hours. We can really see what is the one that matters the most. And here the estimates, column 1, 2, and 3 are for the ratio high skill, medium skill, and 4, 5, 6 is the ratio between medium skill and low skill. Column 1 is the wage bill share, and column 4 is the wage bill share. So we can see that we have what we expected. So ICT is, the change in ICT is positively correlated with the change in weight in the ratio of weight we share between high and medium skill. Like in the graph, we have a positive sign. The issue is that it is totally due to the hours. Okay? This coefficient is just the sum of these two. You can decompose exactly the two. And so you can see that the polarization of weight is shared just through hours. There is no polarization at all of wages. And also in the lower tail there is a negative coefficient, meaning that ICT, the change in ICT made closer unskilled and medium skilled, but it's totally due to hours, since the coefficient of wage is much smaller and is not statistically significant. Okay? So we address also endogeneity. I use a quite standard instrument, the ICT for the US in '95, that is supposed to be exogenous because exogenous to productivity shocks in Europe, quite is correlated to technology in Europe, and we have the same result. Of course, in the paper you can find whatever. So the result of the macro part, and I know that there are many stuff together, so I try to summarize the macro part. We have no conditional wage polarization, no unconditional wage polarization, meaning that if we look at the sectoral data, there is no trends of polarization of wages, as we observe in the labor market. When we see the impact of technology on wages, so the conditional wage polarization, we have that there is actually an impact, but take place just through hours, totally through hours. Wages get not polarized at all. Okay, so there is no polarization of wages. I have some robustness check that I skip. You can find on the paper if you are interested. And then we have why, as I told you before, why we want to move. It could be enough. No, it could be okay. The paper is closed here. Why we think it's important to have also the micro part, since we want to also to investigate the within sector variability, because just the between sector is not really related to what the literature is analyzing in recent years. So the within sector, it means that we want to see for each individual, for each occupation, which are the technological characteristics of that occupation. So it can be that within the same sector we can have different technical patterns. And of course, using individual data, we don't have 3 points of wages, unskilled, medium skilled, and high skill, but we have the whole wage distribution. We can plot easily the distribution of wages, and we can observe the whole distribution. So, the database we use, also here we work quite a lot to harmonize the European Community Household Panel for '96 and the European Community Statistics of Income and Living Conditions, USILC, for 2007. Database representative for European countries. The variable of interest can be defined the same way, so here there is the harmonization that we have done. So, okay, gender there is no problem, but like education, occupation, industry, wages can be defined in the same way. Then we add this task measure that can be merged to the data we have through the ISCO 88 classification, the occupation classification, ISCO 88. So we have 3 measures derived by Buss and Manning. There are 3 continuous variables. For each occupation we have if this variable is abstract, in a sense is a highly intensive of a cognitive and abstract task, if it is routine intensive, so as I said already before, and if it is services intensive, in the manner I told you, more unskilled services. Okay, so face-to-face care, all this kind of stuff. And then we have also a measure, also taken by Buss and Manning, of offshoreability. For each occupation, we have this index that tells us if it's easy to make this occupation offshoreable. Okay? So we want to investigate the change that occurred between 96 and 2007, which is the